faithfully conveying value, interpreting great books worldwide. Hello, this is Sally's Book Club. Today I'll interpret historian Wang Zhangyu's book, Serving the Country with Utmost Loyalty for You. A new biography of Yue Fei. You might ask, isn't Yue Fei associated with absolute loyalty to the country? Why does it say serving the country with utmost loyalty here? Indeed, Yue Fei has always been China's household historical hero and Jin resistance figure. Everyone knows stories like his mother tattooing absolute loyalty to the country on his back. But author Wen Zhenyu argues the tattoo actually said, serving the country with utmost loyalty, commissioned by Yue's mother. So why does everyone know absolute loyalty? Because as Yue Fei's fame grew, later generations fabricated increasingly bizarre stories about him. Qian Kai's Qing novel, The Complete Story of Yue Fei, solidified the absolute loyalty tattoo myth, even portraying Yue Fei as a reincarnated divine bird from Buddha's court. Later contemporary storyteller Lu Lanfang's adaptation, The Legend of Yue Fei, spread widely, but most plots were misconceptions, like blaming Qin Hui as the mastermind, not actual history. So, how do we restore true history? Modern perceptions of Yue Fei stem from this mythologized, complete story image. Yet reality differs. His image evolved over time. After Yue Fei's death, Qin Hui compiled the daily records of Emperor Gaozong, smearing his legacy. Even Southern Song official histories adopted these falsehoods. Only under Emperor Gaozong was Yue Fei rehabilitated. His son Yue Lin began reconstructing his history through archives and elders' accounts. Later, grandson Yu Kei compiled the 28-volume Jinggu Jintuo collection and 30-volume sequel, partially restoring historical truth. But Yue Kei downplayed conflicts between Emperor Gaozong and Yue Fei, overemphasizing Qin Hui's sabotage. His accounts contained inevitable errors and omissions that later scholars uncritically adopted. Until renowned Song historian Deng Guangming re-examined Yue Fei's deeds in the Biography of Yue Fei, pioneering new research paths. The author Wang Zhangyu is a Song Dynasty history expert at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences and a student of Deng Guangming, carrying on his teacher's legacy. Guided by Deng Guangming's research methodology, he conducted new research on Yue Fei. He repeatedly studied Yue Kei's works and extensively referenced 89 historical records, 43 notebooks, and 104 collected writings, carefully comparing 2 or 3 editions for nearly every source. Based on these most important and detailed primary sources documenting Yue Fei's deeds, he wrote a new biography of Yue Fei, published in 1983. Unlike Deng Guangming's biography of Yue Fei, which provides less detailed accounts of Yue Fei's life and leans more toward political or military history, Wang Zhengyu's biography offers an in-depth study of Yue Fei's life. Later, he supplemented it with substantial historical materials and new research findings, revising and republishing it in 2001 under the title Serving the Country with Utmost Loyalty, and a new biography of Yue Fei. Next, I'll explain this book across 2 episodes. The first episode covers Yue Fei's family background, his journey from farmer to anti-Jin general, and the formation of the Yue family army. The second episode will mainly discuss Yue Fei's 4 northern expeditions and the causes and consequences of his wrongful case. All right, let's first examine Yue Fei's origins and family background. On February 15, 1103 AD, the second year of Emperor Huizan's Chongning era, Yue Fei was born into a farming family in Yonghe Village, Tongyan County, Henan. At his birth, a large bird happened to fly onto the roof and cry out, so he was named Fei, meaning to fly, with the courtesy name Penju, meaning rock soaring. As an adult, Yue Fei was handsome and about 1.7 meters tall. He had a large head, square face, big ears, a small mouth, and no beard. This differs greatly from the long, bearded statue at Hangzhou's Yuan Temple and Yue Fei's theatrical portrayals. Yue Fei married a woman surnamed Lu at 16, who bore him his eldest son Yu Yun and second son Yu Lei. In 1126 Jing Kong era, when Yue Fei joined the army for the third time to resist the Jin, he reluctantly left Lu to care for the family. Liu later remarried twice, forcing Yue's mother to live alone with the two young grandsons. Yue Fei sent people to Tongyin 18 times before successfully bringing them to his camp. And later, Yue Fei remarried a woman named Li Hua, who was 2 years older than him. Marrying at about 28 or 29, Li Hua was filial to Yue's mother and cared for Yue Yin and Yue Lei, a model virtuous wife and mother. Yue Fei and Li Hua were deeply affectionate and always maintained monogamy. In ancient society, this was an incredibly rare virtue. Yue Fei wasn't lustful and didn't crave wealth. His highest official rank was Grand Marshal, the top military position. After Emperor Taozu of Song removed military power with wine, Song Dynasty military officials had lower status than civil ones, but earned exceptionally high incomes. Despite his substantial income, Yue Fei kept a simple lifestyle, wearing only hemp clothes daily, never silk. Once, he saw Li Hua dressed in silk clothing. Even though it wasn't high-grade fabric, Yue Fei was very displeased, and after that, no one in the family dared wear silk. Yue Fei was from the north. After moving south, his daily meals remained wheat noodles with pickled vegetables.
If he used meat dishes, it was only one kind. Yue Fei was frugal with himself.
But towards his mother he was filial and considerate, sparing no expense in her life, care, and funeral. Whenever not on campaigns, Yue Fei served her morning and evening, personally preparing medicine and changing clothes, even walking and coughing softly to not disturb her rest and recovery.
In March of the 6th year of Shaoxing era, Yue's mother passed away. Yue Fei didn't eat or drink for 3 days, crying until his eyes were swollen.
Yue Fei and Yu Yun walked barefoot, escorting her coffin from Ezhou straight to Mount Lu in Zhejiang for burial. With an extravagant funeral. Yue Fei was filial to superiors and strict in educating his children. Yue Fei had 5 sons and 1 daughter. Besides Yu Yun and Yu Lei, the other 3 sons were Yu Lin, Yu Zhen, and Yu Ting, and his daughter was Yu Anyang. Yu Yun joined Zhang Xian's army at 12 and earned military merits. Once, Yu Yun was practicing galloping down a steep slope and accidentally fell. Yue Fei was enraged, ordering his execution, but after pleas from generals, it was reduced to 100 cane strikes. Yu Yun.
He inspired his sons to aspire to military service for the country and required them to do farm work during study breaks to remember their roots.
Born into a farming family, Yue Fei eventually rose to Grand Marshal, commanding large armies. This was partly shaped by the era of Sunjin conflict. On the other hand, it was directly tied to Yue Fei's childhood love for martial arts, extraordinary strength, and diligent study. In the Song Dynasty, a person's martial skill was mainly judged by how strong a bow they could draw and their archery accuracy. From a young age, Yue Fei learned archery from fellow villager Zhou Tong and spear techniques from Chen Guang. Through hard practice, he could shoot ambidextrously with perfect accuracy, and his spear skills were unmatched in Tongyin County. Before turning 20, he could draw a bow of 360 jin. Remember, the highest record for Northern Song warriors was only 330 jin, showing Yue Fei's physical prowess reached the peak, earning him the title of bravest in the army. Besides martial arts practice, Yue Fei never neglected cultural studies. With no lamp at home, he often read by burning twigs and leaves, staying up all night. This hard study gave Yue Fei remarkably high cultural literacy. He understood Confucian classics. By 25, he could independently write 1,000-word memorials, unlike Lu Guangxi, who couldn't sign his name, while Han Shizhong could. Compared to other Song generals, Yue Fei's cultural level was outstanding, extremely rare in the civil-centric Song dynasty. Between campaigns, Yue Fei wore scholars' robes and always carried books. Additionally, Yue Fei studied Sushi's calligraphy, composed poetry, his most famous work being The River All Red. Yue Fei wasn't a scholar general, but he greatly valued intellectuals. Towards scholars and advisors, Yue Fei was known for humility and courtesy. He eagerly discussed history with them late into the night. Though Song scholars disdained associating with generals, Yue Fei's camp gathered many intellectuals committed to reclaiming central China. On one hand, scholars' support strengthened Yue Fei's anti-Jin forces. On the other, his scholar connections deepened Emperor Gaozong's suspicions, sowing seeds for his wrongful death. Throughout his career, Yue Fei held titles like Grand Marshal and Military Commissioner, yet people know him as Marshal Yu. In reality, he was never formally granted the rank of marshal. Marshal Yu was merely an honorific from novels. For clarity, we'll refer to him directly as Yue Fei. This concludes Yue Fei's background. As ancients said, virtue, deeds, and words grant immortality. Yue Fei achieved all: loyal and filial, noble character, humble despite high rank. His military feats secured half the Southern Song's survival in Jiangnan. His bold words like, "Civil officials despise money, military officials fear not death, return our rivers and mountains, remain immortal." People often say circumstances create heroes. Joining the anti-Jin war during Jing Kang era, Yue Fei rose from farmer to commander of 10,000-plus troops through 200-plus battles in just 4 years. Truly, Yue Fei was a hero forged by an era of Song resistance against Jin tyranny, fighting for national unity. Let's first discuss the Song-Jin situation around Yue Fei's enlistment against the Jin, just before the Jurchen-established Jin dynasty invaded the Song. The Jurchen people were an ancient ethnic group living in northeast China, ancestors of today's Manchus. In the early 12th century, leader Wanyan Aguda led the Jurchen rebellion against Liao rule, establishing the Jin dynasty. After Emperor Taizong of Jin ascended, Song officials saw the Liao dynasty would soon be swallowed by the rising Jin, so they adopted an alliance policy to destroy the Liao and reclaim the 16 prefectures of Yan and Yun. In 1122, the Song twice mobilized their strongest force, the Shanxi army, for northern expeditions, but were crushed by Liao forces. Eventually, the Jin army captured the Yan-Yun region, and the Song only bought back a few empty cities with heavy bribes. The Jin saw the Song's weakness and viewed them as weaker opponents than the Liao. The Song's abundant resources, prosperous cities, and rulers' wealth made the Jin rulers covetous, so they resolved to attack the Song. In 1125, the Jin army attacked south in 2 routes. The Western Army, led by Deputy Marshal Zhang Han, with 60,000 troops, targeted Taiyuan Prefecture, while the Eastern Army, led by Deputy Marshal Zhang Wang, with 60,000 troops, aimed straight for Yanshan Prefecture. Because Guo Yaoi, a former Liao general guarding Yanshan Prefecture, defected and guided the Jin army, Zhang Wang's forces advanced unimpeded, camping at the gates of Kaifeng, the northern Song capital, creating a critical situation. Emperor Huizong of Song panicked, abdicated to Crown Prince Zhao Huan, declared himself retired emperor, and fled Kaifeng. Zhao Huan succeeded to the throne, changing the era name to Jingkong, becoming Emperor Qinzong of Song, a weak and incompetent ruler. He blindly offered territorial concessions to Zhang Wang to seek peace. Zhang Wang, with his isolated army deep in enemy territory, and the Western Army failing to capture Taiyuan Prefecture, temporarily agreed to peace and withdrew north, planning to reunite at Kaifeng after the Western Army took Taiyuan. Thus, the defense of Taiyuan became the first key point in the Song-Jin War. To lift the siege of Taiyuan, the main Song forces went to rescue from March to May in the first year of Jing Khan. Although the Song forces in Taiyuan were numerous, their units lacked coordination. The Jin army, rested and ready, defeated them one by one. The Song's elite Shanxi army was exhausted, and in September the Jin captured Taiyuan Prefecture. Most of the hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians died in battle or starvation. During the Taiyuan relief battle, Yue Fei was stationed in nearby Pingding. He fought bravely but was overwhelmed, and Pingding fell. Yue Fei fled back to Tongyin County with his wife Lu and 2 children, enduring great hardship. Tongyin had just been occupied by the Jin. The 4th prince of Jin, Wanyan Zongbi, commonly known as Jin Wuzhu, led troops to loot and massacre. Wherever the Jin cavalry went, the elderly and weak were slaughtered. Women were abducted, while men were mostly captured, forced to shave parts of their hair and braid queues, becoming laborers.
Many Han Chinese were enslaved by the Jin army, ears pierced with iron locks, branded with official characters, and sold at market with fixed prices.
Witnessing the Jin army's inhuman atrocities along the way, Yue Fei vowed to resist their brutality, establishing his lifelong commitment to fight the Jin. 2 individuals were crucial in Yue Fei's journey to resist the Jin and become a general. The first was his mother, the second was the patriotic general Zhang Zi. Yue Fei's mother gave birth to him at 37. Despite her joy, she didn't spoil him, instead urging him from childhood to practice martial arts and study culture. When Yue Fei's father died, he observed 3 years of mourning. Living in hardship, he drowned sorrows in alcohol and once caused trouble while drunk. Upon learning this, his mother sternly reprimanded him, and Yue Fei solemnly promised never to drink again. Deeply principled and witnessing Jin atrocities, she actively encouraged Yue Fei to join the army. Before his deployment, she had someone tattoo "Serve the country with utmost loyalty" on his back. From then on, Yue Fei took these words as his lifelong creed, devoting himself entirely until death. Note, it's utmost as in exhausting one's efforts, meaning determined resistance against the Jin, not the familiar absolute loyalty to the country. Long Zhengyu's research confirms that Song records show Yue Fei's tattoo originally read, "Serve the country with utmost loyalty." It wasn't until Qian Kai's early Qing novel, The Complete Story of Yue Fei, that it evolved into his mother tattooing absolute loyalty. In reality, absolute loyalty came from an inscription Emperor Gaozong gave Yue Fei. Absolute loyalty, Yue Fei, was Gaozong's tactic to win him over and ensure deadly service. Besides his mother, Zhang Zi profoundly influenced Yue Fei. Zhang Zi was a patriotic Song general, over 70, then serving as prefect of Sizhou. In winter of Jing Khan's first year, Kaifeng had already fallen. Emperors Huizong and Qizong became Jin prisoners. Qizong's 9th brother, Zhao Gou, later Emperor Gaozong, sent to negotiate peace with the Jin, fled instead. Wang Boan, prefect of Shenzhou, then sent troops to escort Zhao Gou to Shenzhou. In December, Zhao Gou established a marshal's office in Shenzhou, appointing himself Grand Marshal of Hebei forces, with Zhang Zi serving as deputy despite his age. The marshal's forces were divided into 5 armies. Yue Fei commanded 300 troops under the front army, his first service under Zhang Zi. Before this, Emperor Qinzong sent a wax-sealed message calling for armies to rescue him. Zhao Gou, cowardly and weak, dared not rescue his father and brother, fleeing south with Wang Boyan, while assigning Zhang Zi to lead 10,000-plus troops against Kaifeng. Though Zhang Zi won consecutive battles and Yue Fei repeatedly achieved merits, their insufficient forces couldn't alter the war situation. In April the next year, the Jin army took Emperors Huizong and Qinzong north, plundering Kaifeng's palaces of gold, treasures, books, and archives before leaving. On May 1st, 21-year-old Zhao Gou ascended the throne in Yintian Prefecture, changing the era to Jianyun, becoming the Southern Song's founding emperor. This was Emperor Gaozong.
Raised in privilege with no political experience,
Gaozong cared only for pleasure and constant fleeing. Though the ultimate capitulationist, harsh circumstances forced him to appoint resistance-minded civil officials. Li Gang served as chancellor, but Gaozong truly obeyed capitulationists. Wang Boyan and Huang Qianshan. Huang, prefect of Hejian Prefecture, gained imperial favor for protecting Gaozong. In Gaozong's court, capitulationists Hong and Wang insisted on moving south for temporary safety, exactly what Gaozong wanted. Meanwhile, Yue Fei led troops to defend the new army. Under Huang's control, Gaozong showed no real intention to resist the Jin or reclaim territory, as Yue Fei observed. Despite low status during June-July 1277, Jianyang era, Yue Fei earnestly submitted a 1,000-word memorial to Gaozong. At 25, he criticized Huang and Wang for cowardly retreating instead of reclaiming lands, urging Gaozong to return to Kaifeng, lead troops north, and rescue the captive emperors. This memorial marked Yue Fei's maturity. First, northward advance versus southern retreat, stationing in Kaifeng or withdrawing south, was a key conflict between resistance and capitulation factions. As a 25-year-old, Yue Fei's criticism struck the capitulationists' weakness, showing exceptional insight. Second, Song valued civil over military officials. Military involvement in state affairs was seen as transgressive. Yue Fei, a mere 7th-rank officer, dared memorialize the emperor, criticize chancellors, and comment on governance, requiring extraordinary courage, one of his noblest qualities. Finally, after marrying at 16, Yue Fei traveled widely while self-studying. His ability to independently write this memorial at 25 showed mature thinking and scholarly achievement, foundations for becoming a renowned general. Han Quanshan and Wan Boyan saw Yue Fei's memorial, commenting that a minor official like Yue Fei shouldn't speak of such matters. Not only was Yue Fei dismissed, but his military status was revoked and he was expelled from camp, left temporarily destitute. Yet undeterred, he rushed to Hebei's anti-Jin front lines with patriotic fervor, eventually rejoining Zongzai's command after twists and turns. Under Zongzai, Yue Fei maintained an undefeated battle record, and Zongzai cherished this brave young man. Between campaigns, Zongzong gave Yue Fei tactical diagrams to study, but Yue Fei resisted being confined by them. Facing Zongzai's questioning, he calmly stated, "Formations precede battle, that's military wisdom, but their subtle application lies entirely in one's mind." Yue Fei meant that deploying formations before combat was standard military practice, but applying them flexibly and skillfully depended entirely on thoughtful adaptation. Zongzai fully agreed with Yue Fei. These words later became a famous military maxim, showing Yue Fei's maturing tactical philosophy. After Jin forces withdrew, Zongzai became Kaifeng's defender in June 1127, Jianyan era, achieving initial military successes. Zongzai advocated connecting with Heshuo, coordinating frontline troops with anti-Jin militias north of the Yellow River, believing this essential for victory. Yet the Song court's corruption worsened daily. Li Gang of the resistance faction, after Li Gang was dismissed as chancellor, Gaozong showed little interest in governance. He said, "With Huang Qianshan as left chancellor and Wang Boyan as right chancellor, why worry about state affairs?" Zhangzi submitted 24 memorials, urging Gaozong to return to Kaifeng and lead the northern expedition, all ignored. Exhausted by capitulationist hostility, Zongzai fell gravely ill.
When Yue Fei visited, Zongzai died on July 1st, last words shouting, "Cross the river! Cross the river! Cross the river!"
Zongzai profoundly influenced Yue Fei's life. From military discipline and personal integrity to northern expedition ideals and Heshuo strategy, Yue Fei embodied his legacy. Carrying the torch, he became Zongzai's true successor in resisting the Jin. Thus, Song contemporaries said, Zongzai's greatest achievement was discovering and nurturing Yue Fei. After Zongzai's death, capitulationists dominated court. Du Chang succeeded as Kaifeng's defender, a staunch capitulationist and Yue Fei's townsman. Immediately upon taking office, Du Chang terminated Zhongzai's northern expedition plans. Facing the Jin army's offensive, his only move was to keep retreating south until Jiankang on the southern bank of the Yangtze River, which is modern-day Nanjing. Yue Fei once barged into his bedroom, tears streaming, passionately urging Du Chang to inspect the troops and defend the Yangtze front. Du Chang just gave Yue Fei a dismissive brush-off and eventually led 3,000 personal troops across the river to surrender to the Jin. Du Chang's surrender, on one hand, let Jin Wuzhu cross the river and seize Jiankang, wildly chasing Gaozong and forcing him to flee by ship from Ningbo. On the other hand, it made Yue Fei see the true nature of the capitulationists, freeing him to command alone and start independent anti-Jin actions. Yue Fei believed that unless he commanded heavy forces as a grand marshal, he couldn't achieve his dreams. Northern expeditions against the Jin, rescuing the captive emperors, and reclaiming lost lands.
Holding this belief, Yue Fei actively readied his army and fought fiercely against the Jin troops chasing Gaozong across the river.
Under repeated strikes from Yue Fei and other resistors, in March of Jianyan's fourth year, Wuzhu gave up pursuing Gaozong, planning to cross from Xinjiang laden with loot, but Han Shizhong intercepted him, the famous Battle of Huantiandang. Why? 48 days later, the Jin army defeated Han Shizhong's navy, but suffered heavy losses, retreating to defend Jiankang. So, Jiankang became the Jin's last foothold south of the Yangtze. For the Jin army's presence in Jiangnan, it held crucial military value for the Song. But for the Song, the Jin troops in Jiankang became a deadly threat to their core.
Gaozong, back from sea to Weihao, put General Zhang Jun in full charge of retaking Jiankang.
But the timid Zhang Jun preferred enduring curses than advancing toward Jiankang. Only those daring to take on the task. Only Yue Fei's army dared. Yue Fei's strategy was to push from south to north, driving the enemy across the river, since outnumbered, encircling their huge force was impossible. From April to May, Yue Fei's army fought dozens of battles against the Jin and won every time. Battle losses made Wuzhu resolve to abandon Jiankang and withdraw north. Yue Fei spotted the retreat signs, chased to Jing'an town, and wiped out the last Jin forces, the Jiankang campaign. Lasting half a month, besides recapturing Jiankang, Yue Fei's army killed over 3,000 Jurchens total, captured 300 Jin troops at Jing'an, including 8 Jurchens, marking Yue Fei's first glorious victory. In late May, Yue Fei personally escorted prisoners of war to Yueha, where Emperor Gaozong was to present the captives. This was the first time since the Southern Song's founding, 4 years prior, showing Yue Fei's military feats had gained Gaozong's high regard. Though his forces numbered only 10,000, not yet a major army, his campaigns and victories in Jiangnan's anti-Jin theater proved him an exceptional general. In July of Shaoxing's first year, Yue Fei's unit was named Divine Martial Right Auxiliary Army. By December, upgraded to Divine Martial Auxiliary Army, with Yue Fei as commander, placing him alongside Liu Guangxi, Han Shizhong, and Zhang Jun. Moreover, Yue Fei's unparalleled military achievements and strict discipline won broad public support. People joyfully called this formidable force the Yue family army, recognized as one of ancient China's best disciplined armies. This was exceedingly rare in ancient Chinese and global military history. The disciplined army beloved by the people, yet deeply resented by Gaozong. Before executing Yue Fei, he prefixed Imperial Guard to the army's name to assert his command. Yet the people never forgot this illustrious force. Lu Yu said late in life, "You followed Zheng Fu's orders. Survivors still yearn for the Yue family army." Zheng Fu refers to Zhongzai. The first line refers to Zhongzi and Yue Fei's connecting with Heshuo strategy. The second line shows that decades later, people in Jin occupied lands still awaited the Yue family army. So how did it form?
As mentioned, the Jiankang campaign marked its independence. Yue Fei solidified this vision and recruited bandits, or stragglers, magnanimously, expanding the army to over 10,000 after Jiankang.
From Shaoxing years 1 to 3, Yue Fei rushed between Jiangxi, Hunan, Guangdong, and Guangxi, suppressing rebellions.
Early Southern songs saw rampant banditry. One type was deserters or stragglers roaming, committing atrocities like arson and looting.
A prime example was Cao Chang in Hunan. Hao Chang hailed from Duming Prefecture, commanding 70,000 plus men, including 30,000 elite troops. Shaoxing, in February of year 2, the Song court reappointed Li Gang to lead Yue Fei in crushing Cao Chang's rebellion. The Yue family army then had approximately 12,000 troops. After deducting cooks and logistics, only approximately 7,000 were combat ready. The court worried about Yue Fei's insufficient troops, but after he marched out in March, Cao Chang retreated without fighting, fleeing to Guangdong, then Guangxi, finally garrisoning Guizhou, modern Guilin.
Yue Fei concentrated forces to fiercely attack Cao Cheng's main troops in Guangxi.
At the battle's peak, Cao Cheng's general, Yang Zixing, killed Yue Fei's brother, Yue Fan. Yue Fei calmly counterattacked, pressing forward step by step, defeating Cao Cheng's counteroffensives. Yang Zixing was cornered and captured without resistance. Disregarding the fratricide, Yue Fei recruited Yang Zixing as his subordinate. After this, Yue Fei led his army in relentless pursuit. Exhausted and powerless, Cao Chang could only surrender to Han Shizhan's recent pacification forces. After defeating Cao Chang, the Yue family army doubled to 23,000, 24,000 troops, matching Han Shizhan, Lu Guangxi, and Zhang Jun in size. The second bandit type, peasants forced into rebellion by oppressive officials, represented by Zheng Shang and Yang Yao. At Domting Lake, Sheng Shang formed religious societies to recruit poor farmers, then spread anti-Song propaganda.
His slogan, "Equalize nobility, balance wealth," proved highly attractive.
Especially amid early Southern Song's wars, heavy taxes, and poverty, Zhang Shang became locally wealthy with thousands of followers, eventually declaring himself king of Chu and establishing a separatist regime around Dongting Lake. After Song forces eliminated Zhengshang, remnants continued operating around Dongting Lake.
They elected Yang Tai from Lizhou as leader. Since Yao means youngest in Jinghu dialect, people called him Yang Yao.
Yang Yao adapted locally, mass-producing warships to quickly build a navy. Song suppression forces, all northerners unfamiliar with water, could only watch helplessly as enemy speedboats raided freely across Dongting's waves. By Shaoxing's third year, Yang Yao's forces grew stronger. Cheng Chengyu's suppression campaign lost troops and returned empty-handed. Song generals felt helpless against Yang Yao's elusive navy. In Shaoxing's fourth year, Yue Fei volunteered to eliminate Yang Yao. He believed only by crushing Yang Yao could they secure the rear for northern expeditions against the Jin. Facing Yang Yao's limited territory and land attack, water fight tactics, Yue Fei's strategy was cutting food supplies while prioritizing political surrender over military assault. Yue Fei's precise strategies and the Yue family army's elite military skills massively pressured Yang Yao's forces. Yet, Yang Yao stubbornly clung to outdated tactics, fighting disjointedly and failing to concentrate his forces. Moreover, a severe drought around Dongting Lake shallowed waters, crippling Yang Yao's warships. Yue Fei prioritized psychological tactics over assaults, minimizing combat intensity. With minimal bloodshed, Yang Yao's generals surrendered to Yue Fei's amnesty. Yang Yao was eventually killed, collapsing his 6-year separatist regime. In Shaoxing's 5th year, after crushing Yang Yao's rebellion, Yue Fei absorbed 50 to 60,000 recruits, mostly into the Yue family army. Additionally, the court signed Yue Fei 20,000 plus troops from Jiangnan West and Hunan military circuits, Thus, the Yue family army exploded from 30,000 to over 100,000 troops, maintaining this strength long term. Compared to contemporary armies, Yue's forces were largest and highest quality, the undeniable backbone against the Jin. All right, that's Wang Zhengyu's Serving the Country with Utmost Loyalty. This concludes part 1 of Yue Fei reading notes. Next time, I'll cover the Yue family army's formation, 4 northern expeditions, and the wrongful cases causes. See you then!